that were grieved, the mighty Athens fell. A storm of betrayal, a tale to tell. To Sicily they sailed, hearts full of pride. But the winds of fate, they turned the tide. Their leader turned traitor, a coward's plea. The generals were left to face the sea. With a plan so grand, yet none to lead, the dream of victory was a dying seed. Oh, Athens once bright, now lost in the night. Your strength turned to dust, your glory out of sight. In the blood of your men, your future was sealed. The fall of Athens, the fate you revealed. But worse was yet to come, the council's voice. The people decided they had no choice. To strike at Sparta in their weakened state, a foolish move that sealed their fate. No reason but pride, no strategy clear. The city's whispers were filled with fear. The war was long, but Athens chose to fight, with no hope and no strength and no guiding light. Oh, Athens once bright, now lost in the night. Your strength turned to dust, your glory out of sight. In the blood of your men, your future was sealed. The fall of Athens, the fate you revealed. As the ships sailed out, the winds howled loud. The streets of Athens were empty and proud. No turning back, no hope to spare. The world would see what they couldn't repair. In a cruel twist, they faced their doom. The gods had whispered a darkened tomb. The war would end, but not in peace. For Athens, this suffering would never cease. Oh, Athens once bright, now lost in the night. Your strength turned to dust, your glory out of sight. In the blood of your men, your future was sealed. The fall of Athens, the fate you revealed. The ships return, but the city is gone. Only whispers remain of a war once strong.
From the ashes of defeat, a new council rose. The power of the people now struck with foes. In the shadows, they whispered their plan to change the fate of the Athenian land. The people cried, but their voice was drowned. In the halls of power, the silence was found. 100 voices could not change the tide, for the 400 stood with power to guide. The rule of the 400 they took the reins. A democracy broken, bound in chains. They silenced the crowds, they stole the light. A city of dreams, now lost to the night. The generals spoke, but they held no sway. The people's heart they threw away. The oligarchs ruled in their cold embrace. Athens lost its soul, its future erased. A broken city in disarray, struggling to find its righteous way. For in the dark, the 400 played the dawn of Athens, now delayed. Of the 400, they took the reins. A democracy broken, bound in chains. They silenced the crowds, they stole the light. A city of dreams, now lost to the night. Was this the path the gods had dreamed? A city so proud, now turned and schemed. The people cried, but none would hear. Athens' hope was buried in fear. And then the storm, it came with might. The people rose to reclaim the light. The 400's reign, a fleeting breath, for Athens would not bow to death. The 400, they took the reins. A democracy broken, bound in chains. They silenced the crowds, they stole the light. A city of dreams, now lost to the night. The people returned, their voices strong. The 400 fell, but they weren't wrong. For in their hearts they still believed that Athens, once proud, could be retrieved.
Sound of steel, the clash of empires, the blood they'd seal. Arginuse, a place of fate, Athens' victory, a deadly weight. With all their might, the fleet did sail. The winds of fortune, they would prevail. The sea was theirs, they claimed the tide, a fleeting moment in which to hide. Victory at Arginuse, the tide had turned, a fleeting triumph where dreams had burned. The gods had smiled, but fate would bite, for victory's price is paid in the night. The battle raged, the sails did fly. Athens' fleet held the sky. The ships were strong, their hearts ablaze. The Spartans fell in the ocean's haze. But victory came with a heavy cost, for the price of war is never lost. The generals returned with victory's song, but a dark fate awaited. Something went wrong. Victory at Arginuse, the tide had turned, a fleeting triumph where dreams had burned. The gods had smiled, but fate would bite, for victory's price is paid in the night. The ships were lost, the men did drown. A moment's victory turned to frown. The generals returned, their fate was sealed, for the people's wrath could not be healed. The people called their justice fierce, for the lost souls they could not pierce. 6 were sentenced to death by law, for the sea's embrace they would not thaw. Victory at Argenu, say the tide had turned, a fleeting triumph where dreams had burned. The gods had smiled, but fate would bite, for victory's price is paid in the night. Brave and bold, in Athens' name their stories told.
An old man stood, his voice so clear. With wisdom deep, he cast his fear. Athens in turmoil, the people cried, but Socrates stood, defied the tide. Democracy, he said, is blind with rage. The masses rule, but they're in a cage. For truth and wisdom, he did fight against the crowds. He stood in light. The death of Socrates, the wise man falls. A city lost in shadows and calls. In the court of lies, he gave his life for the truth that cut through like a knife. The jury swayed, their hearts were cold. A man of reason, his life was sold. Guilty they cried, without a doubt, for a man who knew the world inside out. He spoke with pride, his voice so strong. The truth I speak will live on long. But Athens could not bear his gaze and sentenced him to an early grave. The death of Socrates, the wise man falls. A city lost in shadows and calls. In the court of lies, he gave his life for the truth that cut through like a knife. The cup of poison in his hand, he drank his death at his command. No fear in his eyes, just peace in his soul. For Socrates, truth was the goal. But his voice lives on in the hearts of the wise. Beyond the trials, beyond the lies. For in his death, he conquered the strife and showed Athens the meaning of life. The death of Socrates, the wise man falls. A city lost in shadows and calls. cut through like a